ho, ho, ho.
Hi everybody, this is Laura
And Arnie.
with Krazy Kool Cakes, and we're coming to you with another awesome free tutorial. The holidays are upon us, and a lot of you are going to want to make some really cute cupcake toppers for your Christmas cupcakes and your cakes. So today we're going to be teaching you how to make these adorable little snowman cupcake toppers, and these of course can also be used as toppers on your Christmas cakes. But I want you to take a look at these beautiful little snowmen that my assistant Melissa made. They are so cute. I mean, completely adorable. These are so easy to make. You can make them very quickly, and so we're going to be teaching you how to make these today. Okay guys, I'm going to start off by showing you the tools and materials that you're going to need to create your snowman topper. You're first going to need some white gum paste. If you don't know how to make gum paste, please check out my tutorial on how to make gum paste. So just depending on how big of a snowman or how many you want to make, you'll need a good amount of gum paste. We're making a very little one, so you'll only need about a ½ ounce. You'll need a little tiny bit of orange gum paste for the carrot nose. You will of course need some edible glue and a brush to add your edible glue. You'll need just a couple of toothpicks, some cutters for the toothpicks. You will need any straight edge. It doesn't have to be specifically this Wilton blade tool. You can use anything that has a sharp edge. You'll need a small ball tool, and this is just to make the hole for the nose. You will need, for the very end, we're going to pearl shimmer our snowman, and so this is Wilton's pearl shimmer. You can use any brand, but you want it to be a pearl color to make our snowman shimmery, and then a little brush to be able to spread the pearl shimmer. And last but not least, you will need some black gel food coloring. I use Americolor Super Black. This is my favorite black gel food coloring, and you'll need a small head pin. These head pins are used for jewelry making. If you don't necessarily have one of these specifically, you can use any type of pin as long as it has a larger head, and then you will also use the sharp point of the head pin. This is not absolutely necessary, but I like to use foam core when I'm sculpting, just to make sure that my toppers aren't going to be leaning in any direction. I like them to be standing up completely straight. So if you have some foam core, that's great. If you don't, you might want to use maybe some cardboard that's thick, where you can actually stab a toothpick into it. And just to make sure that our gum paste doesn't stick to our foam core or cardboard, I like to use just a small parchment square. If you're going to be making several of these, you can have a much larger foam core and a larger piece of parchment. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so you're going to start off by needing a small piece of gum paste, and when you roll this into a ball, it should only be about a 1 inch in diameter. I like to start by sculpting the bottom part of the snowman first. I try to use as little shortening as possible, that way I allow the gum paste to stick to itself. And the trick to getting cracks and wrinkles out of gum paste is by simply using elbow grease. You need to move your hands quickly, use a lot of pressure, make sure your hands get warm. This is the easiest and fastest way to get rid of cracks and wrinkles. So right now I'm applying quite a bit of pressure to this ball. Okay, so you want to make a perfect ball. Check it and make sure that you don't have any cracks or wrinkles. Give it one last twirl in your hands to make sure you get a perfect ball. Okay, and that looks pretty nice to me. So I'm just going to set it down right in the middle of my tabletop, and I'm going to just twirl it around, make sure that it's a perfect ball, and it is. Okay, now I'm going to set this off to the side just for 1 second, and this is where I'm going to bring in my foam core. And what I do is I'm going to take a toothpick. Okay, foam core is very easy to puncture, so I'm going to simply place my toothpick right into the foam core and press it in. Okay, then I'm going to take my cutters, and I only want this toothpick to go into this ball less than halfways. So I'm going to trim right about here. Hold the toothpick so you don't stab yourself or anybody else in the eye when it goes flying off. Okay. Now the purpose of this toothpick is just to keep this ball completely straight so that when we add the ball on the top, it's not gonna wanna lean forward or backward, okay? So since I've had the ball on the tabletop for a little bit now, if I turn it over, I can see that little flat surface that has been created by my tabletop. So what I do is I place that flat part right on the toothpick, and then I gently twirl it and press it down at the same time, and this avoids you ruining the shape of the ball. Okay, so there's my perfect bottom half of my snowman. The other half of the toothpick, or the other part of the toothpick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut just the end of it. So you only have about an inch of the toothpick sticking out. Hold both parts. I don't need that part anymore, so the part that's pointy is going to be facing up, and the blunt end is going to go into the bottom half of the snowman. And you want to center this perfectly. Make sure it's right in the middle. If not, the head of the snowman is going to be off center. And you press it down. Alright, so now I'm going to get rid of this here for a little bit. The second ball that we are going to roll out for the snowman is going to be smaller than the first one. Make sure your gum paste is wrapped at all times so it doesn't dry out on you. And when working with gum paste, it's just trial and error. You might have to add a little gum paste. You might have to remove some to get the right size. So I'm just going to not worry about the cracks and wrinkles right now, and I'm just going to roll it up into a ball just to test the size. And I think I'll make it just a tiny little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a little bit more gum paste. If you want both balls to be exactly the same size, of course you can do that, but generally I think it looks a lot cuter when the head of the snowman is smaller than the body, which is the bottom half. So this should be about right. Go ahead and roll it into a ball. Make sure you get rid of all the cracks and wrinkles. Okay. There it is. Perfect ball. Okay. So now I'm going to put my snowman's body back in the middle. Take a little tiny bit of glue. You don't need a lot of glue. It takes very little glue. Just enough to get it tacky. And just a little bit around the toothpick. Okay. Now again, make sure that the ball is centered on the toothpick. Before I press it all the way down, I like to turn it and look at it from all directions and make sure that that ball on the top is right in the center. And I know it is now, so I'm going to go ahead and just gently twist it as I press down. Okay. While the gum paste is soft for the head, we want to go ahead and make the hole for the nose. So you're going to take your small ball tool, and keep in mind that you want the snowman facing forward, not necessarily facing up towards you. We have a tendency to want to have what we're creating looking up at us, and then when you take a look at it later on, you realize that his head is tilted all the way back because he was looking up at you. So make sure when you make the hole, you kind of get down towards your tabletop and look at it head on. And you want to take your ball tool, hold the head gently so it's not pushed back, and place the ball right in the center, and you press it in until the ball completely disappears into the head. So this is what it should look like to you guys when you're looking at it head on. Okay. And then what I want to do is just put it in again and just make a small circular motion just to widen it just a tiny bit. Okay. And still, while the gum paste is moist, we want to go ahead and make the arms now for the snowman. So take one toothpick. You're going to cut it exactly in half with your cutters. If one arm is a tiny little bit longer than the other one, no big deal. Okay. Now, you will take the blunt end of one half of the toothpick, take your cutters, and just on the very end, you're going to just split it in half carefully. Okay, so there, you want to try to have your snowman to have at least 3 fingers. That looks really cute. If you only can get 2, that's fine. Take your fingernail and gently crack open the toothpick. Okay, whichever half looks bigger to you, we want to try and split that half in half. So take your cutters again and split the other half in half. And again, gently with your fingernail, try and split it open. Just like that. If there's any little pieces of wood sticking out, you want to try and get rid of them. Okay, so there's one little arm. Isn't that cute? Okay, the other one, again, take your cutters just on the end, split it in half. Okay, and again, if they're not exactly the same, it actually looks nicer because you have some randomness. Okay, there's the other little arm. And I want to try to get rid of this little piece here sticking out. There we go. Okay, 2 little arms. Okay, so you are going to take one of your arms and you're going to place it onto your snowman. You want the arm to be at an angle facing upward, not straight out to the side. So look at your snowman and figure out where the side of him is. And you put it in right about there. Okay, do the same with the other. Okay, you want both arms to stick out evenly, so obviously I need to push in one a little bit more than the other. And turn the toothpick so that all 3 fingers are visible from the front. It's already cute and he's not even done. Okay, now we're going to create the carrot nose. So take a little bit of your orange gum paste. You need very little. That might even be a little bit too much. So again, we're just going to test the size. Knead it to get rid of all the cracks and wrinkles. Okay, gonna roll it into a tiny little ball. And I pretty much can already tell this is gonna be way too much. So even if it is too much, okay, you're going to roll it into a teardrop shape. And this is very easy to do. You just simply place your finger both on the table and on the gum paste at an angle. Okay, so I can already tell this is gonna be too big, but that gives me an idea as to where I'm going to cut it. Okay, so I'm gonna take my blade, and I think right about there should be good. You want the end that's gonna be going into the head to be larger than the other one, than the other end. Okay, so once again, roll it into a ball. Let's make it into a carrot shape or a long pointy teardrop. Make sure you make the end of the nose pointy, and the part that's going into the head needs to be a little bit thicker. Okay, let's test it out and see how it looks. Okay, the end is still a little bit too fat and won't fit in the hole, so let's thin it out a little bit. Okay, that looks about right. That's cute. Okay, so Just to make it look a little bit more like a carrot, what I like to do is take that straight edge that I showed you a while ago and pick the part of the carrot that you want to be the top. Okay? Take your straight edge and you're just gonna gently mark a few little lines on the top of the carrot nose just so that it looks more like a carrot. Don't squash it all the way down because then you'll make it lose its shape. Okay? So now what you're gonna do is take a little bit of glue and you're gonna put some glue inside the hole. Take your carrot nose and just gently insert it into the hole. And then you want to push it up just a little bit so that it's at an angle. Okay, you don't want it pointing down you don't want it pointing straight forward. Okay, so that's what the carrot nose should look like. Really cute. Okay, we're almost done. Now what we're gonna do before we add the eyes and the smile and the buttons to his chest is we wanna go ahead and shimmer this so that it looks very appropriate for Christmas. You want it very shimmery and glittery. So take your brush that you've chosen for the pearl shimmer. I open up the little bottle, place the lid on my tabletop, and then just grab a little bit of shimmer on the end of the brush and I put it into the lid. And you don't need a lot because this actually does go a long way. And now just very carefully shimmer your snowman all the way around. Try not to mess up the position of your nose. Once you get the hang of making one, you'll see how quickly you can actually produce about a dozen of these in a very short amount of time. And you can have your guests keep these as keepsakes. If they are going to be eaten, just make sure that you let them know that there's a toothpick inside. Or make sure the parents take the toothpicks out before they give them to their kids to eat. Okay, so there is my snowman, completely pearl shimmered. Okay, make sure the nose stays in the right position. Okay, now we're going to add the eyes. And what I do is I take my super black Americolor, and again, you can use any brand. This is just my favorite. Shake the bottle to make sure that you get some color in the lid. Okay. So there I have some color in the lid, and this is all I need. And I'm going to take the larger end of my pen. You don't want to dip it completely into the color. You just want to barely let the surface of the pen touch the surface of the color just to pick up a little blob or bubble of gel food coloring. That's all you need. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And now I'm going to just carefully blot one eye. There's the first eye. And now I like to pick up color every time so that it's a nice, fresh blot. And make sure that your eyes are even on the face. Okay, there's a second eye. Cute. Okay, now let's do the buttons. I like to do 3 buttons on his chest. And let's have it centered with the nose. There's the first one. Blot your pen head again. Second button. and the third. Okay, cute. Okay, let's do the mouth now. Okay, I've gone ahead and wiped the pin head so that when I grab it from the other end, I don't get my fingers dirty. So now we're gonna use the pointy end to make smaller dots for the mouth. So once again, you really don't want to dip the entire point in the color, just enough to pick up a little blob of color on the end, okay? So we want to start right underneath the nose. There's the first one. Okay, make sure your nose isn't going down. Grab some more color, and then you're just going to evenly distribute these dots to give them a cute little smile. And of course you can give them different kinds of smiles. It doesn't have to be a perfect smile. I like to add 2 on one side and then I add 2 on the other side, just to see where I'm at. That's actually pretty good right there. If you wanted to add 1 more, you could, but I think that's a good enough smile for me. So there is your Christmas snowman cake topper or cupcake topper. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial and would love it if you guys could join me on Facebook and post pictures of your little snowman toppers so that we can all take a look at them. And thank you for being a subscriber, and I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.